Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I've been spending some time this week with the 2016 Toyota Tundra. This is a fully loaded 1794 with the TRD Off-Road package, and as you can tell, I've been having a little bit of fun with it. Now, we just test drove this truck 2 years ago, nearly one identical to this one, and so you might ask, why test drive the same truck again, even though it hasn't changed? But what has changed is the competition. Since this truck came out in 2014, there are now a lot of new trucks competing against it. I'm talking about the 2015 Ford F-150, the new 2016 Nissan Titan, and Ram and General Motors have both upped their game quite a bit. So really in test driving it today, what I want to find out is, how does it stack up against its new competition?
By the way, it wasn't always covered with mud. I did get some pictures before the fun started, and while I said at the outset we test drove a truck nearly identical to this one, there are a couple of differences. This one has the TRD Off-Road package, which has 18-inch wheels with black accents that I like a bit better than the standard wheel design on the 1794. If you like chrome, you won't be disappointed, as it comes with heavy doses of the shiny stuff on the front bumper and grille. If not with the TRD, you can also option up 20-inch chrome wheels if you like all the bling. Though the 1794 edition is based on the same trim level as the Tundra Platinum, it differs on the exterior in that the Platinum has a body color front bumper and fascia. The 1794 also has a grille similar to the SR5 and different from the Platinum. The TRD Off-Road package comes with not only those wheels, but specially tuned Bilstein shocks at all four corners, extra skid plates, and the all-important graphic on the bedside. Of note here, the double cab Tundra is only available with a 5.5-foot bed. Toyota has yet to offer their full-size cab with anything longer like the competition does, but at least it has a soft opening tailgate. Once behind the wheel, however, you're likely to forget all about that. The 1794 has Toyota's version of the Cowboy Western Store saddle shop interior theme that's become popular in full-size trucks lately. Think King Ranch, Longhorn, High Country. It's right up there with them. The rich brown hides on the seat, front and rear, match trims on the dash, the door panels, and on the center console. There's lots of hand stitching to make it feel highly crafted, and a few small doses of fake wood to keep it all warm. It's flashy, and it's maybe over the top, but I kinda like it. The front seats are plenty comfortable, power adjustable on both sides, heated, and the driver has memory settings for their adjustments. They're handsome too, with 1794 logos in them and suede inserts to help keep you planted. Rear seat passengers have one of the largest spaces to stretch out and relax this side of a Ram Mega Cab. Legroom, headroom, and hip room are all quite good, and it's comfortable for three across with no problems on long trips. And those seats do fold upward in a 60-40 split, which allows for taller items to be stowed. This interior, in my opinion and measured experience, is one of the best in class in terms of build quality, fit and finish, ergonomic design, and appeal. If the colors are a bit much for you, the Platinum has the same level of features and equipment, but it's all black instead. Overall though, I rate the interior here at 5 of 5 stars. The infotainment in the top-level 1794 edition is Toyota's venerable JBL audio system with touchscreen, navigation, and full Entune suite of applications. The center console has a good phone spot, and there's both USB and Bluetooth connectivity for it. The menus are easy enough to use, and it functions well, but the audio quality from its 11 speakers just isn't at all up to top-level expectations, surprising at first blush with the JBL name. When scoring for technologies, we also look at driver assistance systems, of which the Tundra has many, including a backup camera, blind spot warning with cross-traffic alert, and a rear parking sonar, just to name a few. These all work well and contribute to a technology score of 4 of 5 stars. Technology under the hood remains the proven 5.7-liter dual overhead cam V8 that's powered the Tundra for some time. Rated at 381 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque, it comes only with a 6-speed automatic transmission.
Well, that is a V8, and well, that's something that you're not finding in all of the trucks anymore, at least through the model range. This is an engine which still has that nice growl that you like to have in a truck. And even though it's been around for a while, it still offers up competitive power, I think, and competitive fuel economy. Even though I've been romping on it just a little bit, for a V8, it's rated at 15 mpg combined. I've been getting 16 with it this week, and even as high as 17 before I started doing that kind of thing the last couple of days. But this is an engine that you're not going to find underpowered, you're not going to find it under-refined, especially given the fact that we've got dual overhead cams here. This is the same engine family that you're going to find in the Lexus LS sedan, so it's got a good pedigree. Of course, here it's set up a little bit more for truck duty, but overall this is a powertrain that I still think remains very competitive.
This engine's capable of running on E85 like most in its class, but I'm not sure who really ever buys that stuff. Nonetheless, it's rated by the EPA at a thirsty 13 mpg city, 17 mpg highway, and 15 mpg combined. I managed 16 mpg in my week with it, a slight bit more than promised. Now, even though it's not the latest greatest whiz-bang hardware available today in terms of turbochargers and multi-displacement toys, it still works remarkably well, I think, earning it 5 of 5 stars in the powertrain department.
If you watch my videos, one thing you know I love to do is bring a truck and an SUV out here to the desert washboard road. And while it's not heavy-duty rough off-roading, what it does is it shows how well put together this thing is, how well tuned the suspension is, essentially how buttoned down this chassis is, because this vibrating rib surface here can make even some of the best vehicles out there feel like a total pile. And while most of you probably won't be coming out here to the Badlands that often, there are people out there who buy a truck like this who live on a dirt road, and you certainly don't want to spend 50 grand on a truck and have it feel like a pile. So what am I finding out here? What I'm finding out here is this thing is actually remarkably well isolated. I'm rolling over a desert washboard road here, and I'm not feeling any vibrations in here whatsoever. I don't have dash rattle, I don't have any vibrations visually going on. There's no shuddering in the door frames. A lot of times that happens when body structures aren't as robust as they could be. Here, I've got a suspension, I've got a body, I've got a frame that are all tuned well together such that even when I start getting into the rougher stuff here, it's just pretty quiet and pretty well isolated, and it's impressive in that way. And the other thing is I'm going around a lot of these curves, a little bit of mud, a little bit of gravel, a lot of mud. And what I'm finding out is that the way this stability control is tuned on this thing is actually, it's very subtle. I can feel it kicking in here and there to keep this thing from rotating around, with a little bit of brake action on various corner wheels, but it's not abrupt. It comes in almost imperceptibly, other than the fact that you can hear it, and then you can feel a little bit of the scrub going on. But it really doesn't let this thing kick out too much before it steps in. Woo! Mud, here it is again. Here's some more water. Whee! This TRD suspension, even though it's often made fun of because it's barely more than a tire and a shock package, maybe some decals, it's actually pretty nicely done. It's not a super off-road suspension, but it feels good out here. It soaks up a lot of the rough stuff, and that really goes to shock tuning because the springs really aren't any more compliant than you might find on the standard 4x4. And of course you get the benefit of the skid plates, which even though they're not super robust skid plates, they are skid plates nonetheless. So now I've kind of done this light duty off-road stuff with the washboard road, which really goes to suspension dynamics and refinement more so than capability. Next is actually taking it off on a little bit more challenging trail and seeing how it handles that. Now this is a bit more of a rougher trail. It's not off-roading in the sense that I even have to begin to put this thing in four-wheel drive. But what this is a rougher, a little bit more engaging trail that really kind of shows similar to the washboard road. It shows how well this suspension handles the rough stuff, at least in terms of ride and how the thing handles. And what I'm finding out here again is that this suspension just does a great job of soaking up a lot of the ruts, the rocks, the bumps and things without beating you to death. And it certainly doesn't make the truck feel like it's being taxed in any way. It seems like no matter how hard I roll over some of these dips and bumps, I'm not bottoming out, and that's never a fun thing, to feel the suspension hit the bumpers. Now this is a pretty good bump here. Whew. Of course it was cushioned with water, but this is good. The TRD suspension is a step up from the regular suspension, certainly worth the $100 they charge for it. In fact, they ought to just make it standard. So again, I'm happy.
Now some of you might ask, why didn't you really put it to the off-road test with more challenging terrain? That's really something the Tundra TRD Pro model is more geared and marketed for, and we'll be testing that one very soon, doing just that.
Now, while off-road's always a good way to test how tough a truck is and how well put together it is, at the end of the day, most people are never really going to be doing that. They're going to be out here on the highway, they're going to be driving around town, they're going to be on the pavement, and so how this actually drives and rides on the pavement is probably going to be more important to most everybody on the planet than the off-road side of things. And so here, it's actually very composed, it's actually very refined, and that's something that I've always thought about the Tundra, even in the earlier generations. It's one of the more refined truck chassis out there. It's quiet, it's solid, and it feels heavy. And well, it should, because it is heavy, at least by today's standards, in a world where Ford's building aluminum-bodied trucks and everybody's going towards the light weighting. And no doubt Toyota probably will with their next generation, but this truck still feels like it's carved from a solid block of steel, and well, that's a good thing, I think. And so overall, it's quiet, it's solid, and it's refined. Those are my three takeaways here.
As you can tell, I'm impressed when something just feels of quality, period. The chassis is one of the most important areas of quality for any vehicle because it touches every part of your driving experience. It gets 5 of 5 stars here, which is rare for a pickup. When it comes to quality feel, the Tundra also impresses well over some of the domestic brands. It is, after all, the Toyota of full-size trucks. Fit and finish are faultless inside and out, and here, even the doors slam with a solid thunk that's better than most Toyotas. Thus, the quality feel comes in at 4 of 5 stars.
Summing it up for the 2016 Toyota Tundra, my big takeaway is that this is still a very solid and a very refined choice in the market. It just performs and it feels good. It's a quality tool. Now, how does it compare though against many of the new competitors? Let's start by looking at the specs here. As you can see here, I got 16 mpg this week with this thing, which it's rated at 15 combined. One more than promised, not bad considering some of my off-road forays here, and that includes that. So I'm pretty happy there. Now, when we look at the price on this one, we're at $50,000. This is pretty much top out for the Tundra. You really can't spend a whole lot more money unless you start getting into dealer options. With its competitors, you can get into the 60s because they do offer a lot more in the way of option packages, trim levels. They have things that you can't get here. I'm talking about a panoramic roof, some of the driver assistance aids, as well as things like a 360-degree camera. But what I should point out is that even at $50,000, there are things that some of those new competitors now do offer at that price that aren't available here at that price, or at any price for that matter. So the value side of things actually starts to get a little bit thinner if those types of features matter to you. So in that way, our value score is 4 stars. When you put that in with everything else we've already talked about, we're still at 4.5 stars, which isn't bad at all. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Well folks, if you like the test drive you just saw, click on the link right there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We test drive 1, sometimes 2 vehicles each week. Plus, we have a new video almost every single day, news features, and Motoring Monday. There's always something new, so stay tuned.